Wait, so you're doing it?
Doing what?
The Jazza Win My Channel contest. You're entering?
Yeah.
He's doing what? He's entering the Jazza Win My Channel contest.
Jazza's already shouted him out like twice. Shouldn't he give someone else a shot?
Well,
What? I couldn't hear him.
he said Jazza's already shouted him out twice. Shouldn't you give someone else a shot?
No, I don't think I will.
So you gonna give me a shield now or something?
No. But you can have Milnor.
Hi, I am d.clements, and I used to make stuff like this. Hello, Jazza subscribers! Now see, that works whether this video is posted on Jazza's channel or my own, because my subscriber base is basically 95% Jazza subscribers anyway. Huh? Big brain. Now Jazza has made art with just about every material there is, so finding a medium that he hasn't worked in yet was a bit of a challenge, but I think I found one. Metal. Oh, the Tesla video that he just posted where he worked with a bunch of metal? Yeah, kinda bunged up my whole concept there, Jazza. But you did say steel was...
Is not my medium.
It's not mine either. But anyway, more specifically, I don't think I've ever seen any kind of metal casting on the channel, so that's what I want to do for you guys today. Now, in true Jazza fashion, we're going to do a dabble and then a deep dive. In other words, we're going to do a casting I know I can do, and then one I think I can do. Now, I'm extremely excited to show you this first method of metal casting because it makes it incredibly approachable. So approachable that you can get everything you need to make a metal casting with a single trip to the grocery store. Now first, the metal. Head on over to the sporting goods section and pick up some fish sinkers. Now right up front, a bit of a disclaimer, these do contain lead, but as long as you're not putting them in your mouth, they're pretty harmless. But if the idea of lead doesn't really gel with you, I will be showing you a much safer metal to use when we go into the deep dive. But for now, because they are lead, that means they're very easy to melt. So head on over to the plumbing section and pick up a blowtorch. And finally, for the mold medium, make your way over to the toy section and pick up some kinetic sand. This is sand that's been coated with a silicone oil, giving it some very interesting properties, one of which is its ability to hold its shape, making it very apt for this process. And just a few other items to pick up are things you might already have. A steel measuring cup to act as our crucible, a container to hold our sand, and some heat-safe gloves aren't a bad idea. And I have a few other pre-made items in my mini metal casting kit, available nowhere. A measuring cup attached to a long handle, making it safer. And a nice sturdy bread pan, already full of kinetic sand. So I'm going to start by flattening out the sand and getting a nice level surface. And to help me do that, I have a little tamper that I made. It's just a little block of wood on a handle, and that just helps me press and pack down the sand. Alright, and that looks really good. So now, of course, we need something to cast, and something that's really easy to cast in a mold like this is a coin. So I went ahead and made a custom 3D printed Jazza coin. Here's the 47-second tutorial on how this was made. Draw a big circle, draw a small circle, draw a line and group it with a small circle. Effects, distort and transform, transform. Make 39 copies. Rotate each copy 360 divided by 40 degrees. Set the origin point to the bottom. Object, expand appearance. Right-click, ungroup, select the lines and delete them. Select everything and unite them. Draw some more circles. Bring in a reference image of the Jazza avatar. Trace over it. Simplify and bold all the features. Paste into the coin and scale. Export as an SVG. Launch Fusion 360. Create a new sketch. Insert an SVG. Scale by 1.33 for some reason. Finish sketch. Select and extrude down. Extrude cut the ring. Insert the Jazza SVG. Scale by 1.33. Extrude cut the face. Extrude up the hair, like way up. Do some other tweaks and we have our coin. 3D print it. So I did my best to have big, bold shapes just to give us the best chance at a nice, clear casting. So let's just go ahead and press it into the sand. Now very carefully remove it. Oh, that left a very nice impression. We should hopefully get a lot of detail from that. All right, let's melt some metal. Now you definitely want to do this in a well-ventilated area. Outside would be preferable, but it's dark and freezing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put on a mask, which would be a good idea regardless. Put a couple sinkers in our crucible, fire it up. All right. That looked like a pretty good pour. Careful to set your crucible down on something heat resistant. All right, now we just gotta wait for that to cool down. All right, and this should be cool enough to touch. Well, I'm really happy with that result. And how crazy easy was that to do? Almost too easy. So for my deep dive, I want to do a 3-dimensional casting using a 2-part mold and proper materials. This is an ingot of pewter, and like lead, it has a very low melting temperature, but unlike lead, it won't give you cancer. But also unlike lead, you can't just go to the grocery store and pick some up. But you can easily order it online, and this 1-pound ingot only costs about $25. So you could substitute this for the fish sinkers and do everything we just did, only safer. But let's keep upping the ante, and instead of the kinetic sand, I'm going to use some def clay. This is proper casting sand, professionally made, and I've never used it before, so I have high expectations. We're also going to substitute the bread pan for a 2-part mold. This is just a simple box mold that I put together, and you'll see how it works momentarily. Now, as I said, this can be melted with a blowtorch, but we're going to substitute that in our measuring cup for this handy electric pot. And finally, again, we need something to cast. So just like the coin, I turned to 3D printing and came up with this, a little cube head Jazza doll. Heavily inspired by Pixelpit's Jacksepticeye design. I created the bulk of this in VR in Gravity Sketch.
Other than it being green, it's still pretty horrifying.
And given the program's limitations and my limited abilities in the program, I settled on this as a design that I could feasibly do, and I'm pretty happy with it.
So in terms of something I might actually be able to create within the next, few minutes here. Okay. See, fortunately, Gravity Sketch doesn't really have any kind of deforming tools. There it is. It's that easy. Yeah. Hey, I'm digging this. This is cool. This is making me feel a lot better. Oh, this is too funny. I'm always keeping that this is going to be cast in metal in the back of my mind, cut in half and put together.
I think I should have exaggerated the face features a bit more. I don't think they're really going to get captured, but we'll see. Now, I've specially designed this figure just for this process, as it comes apart in 2 pieces. So let's just get going. All right, so I'm going to start with the front, and I'm going to give it a little dusting with some talcum powder, baby powder. And this should just help the sand not stick to the piece. And it might be beneficial with the kinetic sand. I've never tried it. So this is our bottom mold, and we set this down flat. Now this does have some respiratory warnings on it, so I'm going to go ahead and throw on my mask. No real reason not to.
I think my little tamper should come in quite handy to pack this sand down. I hope I made my mold small enough to fit it all. All right, let's try and flip it over and see what, well, that's so far so good. All right, so now we dust this with powder as well to keep the second layer from sticking to it so we can still separate it and take the piece out. I have 2 little registration pins that go in there, and then this guy should line up with its other half. Now, of course, we need a way to pour the metal in. So I'm gonna stick a spout here, and now we fill that up with sand. I think I might have just enough sand. I might have made the perfect size mold just by guessing. Can you understand anything? That's what subtitles are for, right? All right, well that feels pretty compacted. So I'm going to try and ease these out first. See if we can separate this. Okay, hey! Now, how in the world did we get this out? I should have put some like screw holes or something in there, some sort of place to grab. Right, that's an issue. That's okay, and that's gonna happen. A lot of sand came off with that. I guess you gotta try again. So it does say it's a cold sensitive product. So it was shipped in the winter, and I guess cold dries it out, but it says you can reactivate it by spraying it with some isopropyl alcohol. So I'll try that.
Well, the def clay let me down. I couldn't get it to work. It's not the material I was hoping it would be. Now I'm sure a lot of that is just lack of experience. This is the first time I've ever used it, and it just wasn't working the way I thought it would. And I'm sure it also has to do with the cold issue, the fact that I had it shipped in the winter. Maybe come summer I'll buy a new batch and hopefully get it shipped without encountering cold and see if there's any difference. But that's a bummer. But not at all uncommon, especially on my channel. I face failure a lot, but I see failure as a good thing. It means I tried something, and it also means I have an opportunity to try something else. We know we can make a dump mold with kinetic sand, so why not a two-part mold? I originally dismissed the idea because kinetic sand is very affected by gravity, but when it's compacted, it doesn't move at all. I think it's worth a shot. My figure is also partly to blame for some of these issues. I really tried to design it properly for this type of mold making, but I still had some overhangs that were preventing it from cleanly pulling out of the sand. So I've shaved some of those back, I've added in some clay. It's looking pretty rough now, but I've foregone any hope of detail with this. If I can get a blob that roughly resembles this guy, I'm gonna be really happy. Huh, look at that. This is gonna work. I don't want to jinx it, but this is gonna work. It even got detail in the eyes. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen if the pewter's gonna flow but that's 100 times further than I got with the def clay. The baby powder really helps too. I should just redo the whole thing. Now this sand has been outside in the freezing cold for 2 years, and it has no problems. Just saying. Also, just a quick note, there is a reason I'm not using this specific bag of sand and just using sand that I've already had, because this is actually their beach sand formula. So it has larger, chunkier grains of sand, so it's not going to pick up as much detail as their normal formula. So I didn't even really notice that. So I guess be careful not to get the beach sand. Look for just the normal fine grain stuff. All right, we're getting there. So I do still think the sand is going to have a tendency to move. I just feel like it will. So I'm actually going to get the metal starting to melt. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, so I'm going to jump onto that.
Oh no! That's problematic. I don't think it's working. Maybe it did, I don't know.
Okay, it's still really hot, but I have to find out what is inside of here. I have to, I'm too curious, because the implications, if this worked. Holy crap! I'm absolutely shocked. That's oddly emotional. It worked. It worked beyond anything I could have imagined. I am blown away. Kinetic sand. You buy this stuff in the toy section at the grocery store, and I just made a three-dimensional casting. A completely safe to handle and melt metal, a completely safe to touch and breathe casting material, and no risk of cancer or damage to respiratory systems or lungs. It picked up the Jazza text on the base. It picked up the indents on his eyes. It got all the detail in his hair. Anybody can do this. These are incredibly accessible materials. Sure, I made my original using VR and 3D printing, but you could sculpt this by hand. You could just buy a toy off the shelf and make a metal copy. This was a Hail Mary, a last-ditch effort to save this entire video. Jazza, I really hope you give this a shot at some point. This is too cool. Several years ago when I first tried the dump mold with the kinetic sand, and that worked, that blew me away. But something as complex as a two-part mold, having to cut pore spouts and having it fill the entire cavity and having what comes out look like exactly what went in. I'm still in awe. But my sincere thank you for watching. Once again, I am Nick d.clements. If you're wondering, Nick is short for Nicholas, and the D stands for don't give up. Anyway, I'm off to make something else.
No. We can have Milnor.